It looks like we got a full house.
It does. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I will call the quarterly meeting of the Tennessee Board of Regents to order on this Wednesday, March 4, well, I guess apologies may not be the right word, but just a recognition that it is a little warm in this room, right? This is what we get when you can't regulate big systems on a moment's notice, and it's the beauty of it is a warm, beautiful spring day here in Middle Tennessee. So there we go. So we will conduct our business as we need to, but try to be efficient with your time. The doors are open. Mariah's located a couple of fans. Dick Tracy's somewhere, maybe with a wrench. So thank you for hanging in there with us. But welcome to all this afternoon. This is a big day. Our SOAR activities have already kicked off this morning. We have our opening reception this evening rather. Look forward to all of us having some time together, and it's really nice to be able to celebrate the best and brightest students and faculty and staff and folks across this great system. So this will be an exciting couple of days. To those of you who served as judges this morning, and I think I have this right, it was Angela and Kyle and Stephen. Thank you for taking the time to do that. Any reflections on who you met and what you heard this morning?
Yes, I just mentioned this to the chancellor. I came up here last night and I knew what my schedule was, excuse me, but I had not signed up to judge. Mariah stayed after me. Do you think you could do it? And I think by the third time I said yes, because I was going to take this morning and do some work. But I would sign up today if we could, because that was such a great experience. And you're going to see, we did the student interviews this morning in judging. You're going to see some great winners, but I think all of us, Stephen was in my group, we learned as much from those students as we have in anything, just listening to their experiences and the way they answered questions. So there were no losers. There's going to be 2 winners, but they all did a great job.
That's great. Thank you. That's exciting. Aw. Angela?
So I was a judge in the outstanding staff competition today, and I will just say that we have some amazing people working for the TBR colleges. We did both community college and TCAT, and just the amount of passion that our staff has for their students, and just constantly trying to come up with a way to help fund their education, provide those wraparound services that really create barriers to success for our students. And again, no losers. I mean, to have made it to the finalists, obviously they are winners, but really and truly our students are the winners because they've got some amazing people working for them.
Well put. Thank you, Angela. Stephen?
That's what I had. I like to judge because I don't get to be with students often, and this is a good opportunity to hear from them directly. But to pile on to Regent Spurgeon, I took stats away about how great TCATs are at community colleges that I've never heard before, but they rolled off due to Skills USA with ease. And so anyways, I encourage anyone next year to participate.
That's great. Thanks to you 3. Thank you. That makes it puts a step in, or spring rather, in my step, right? To think of meeting them then here over the next couple of days. So thank you. Well, with that, we are officially underway, and let's make it doubly official with Secretary Perry calling the roll.
Governor Lee, Regent Bradshaw,
Here.
Regent Branscombe,
Here.
Regent Burdine,
Here.
Regent Davis, here, Regent DeWitt, here. Regent Gentile,
Here.
Regent George, I believe you're on with us virtually. Can you confirm that you can hear and speak with us and that you are alone in the room?
Yes, here I can confirm both that I am alone and I can hear you fine. I'm alone in the room. Glad to be here, and good afternoon.
Thank you. Regent Harrell.
Here.
Regent Harriman.
Here.
Commissioner Holt.
Present.
Regent Kastner.
Here.
Regent Powers.
Here.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds. Regent Richardson.
Here.
Regent Spurgeon,
Here.
Regent Stevenson, and Regent White.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you, Regent George, for joining us. We miss having you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take care of some housekeeping. We have some minutes from our December 9, our regular quarterly board meeting that you all had in your materials before we met today. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, and since this is a non-controversial and routine item, I would suggest that if there's no objection, we adopt these by unanimous consent, but should you prefer a roll call vote, that's certainly yours to request. Hearing no objection, the minutes from December 9 are adopted. Thank you. Our second order of business is the Chancellor's Interim Action Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome to everybody to the TBR Super Bowl week. We are looking forward to all the activities that will be going on, and I think you're all going to enjoy what happens this week. It's truly exciting. Each of you have the interim action report that was included in the materials made available to all board members prior to the meeting today. This report does constitute a record of business transacted by the Office of the Chancellor since the previous quarterly meeting of the board. Madam Chair, pending any questions, I recommend the board's approval of the report of interim action.
Thank you, Chancellor. Any questions for Chancellor Tidings on this? Once again, this is a non-controversial routine report to us. I would propose we ratify and confirm this by unanimous consent, but if you have an objection and would prefer a roll call vote, please say so. Hearing no objection, the report is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you all very much. Regent Burdine, you had an audit committee meeting.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. The audit committee met in regular session on 18 February 2026 to review and recommend approval of the following items: finding and recommendation logs, miscellaneous external reviews, federal audits, and internal audit reports, system-wide internal audit updates, and fiscal year 2026 internal audit plan revisions. Madam Chair, this concludes my report on the 18 February 2026 audit committee meeting. As committee chair, I move that the board approve this report of the February 18th 2026 meeting of the audit committee as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom White. Any further comments or discussion for Regent Burdine on audit? Hearing none, this one does require a roll call vote.
Regent Bradshaw,
Aye.
Regent Branscombe,
Aye.
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent Davis,
Aye.
Regent DeWitt, Regent George,
Aye.
Regent Harrell,
Aye.
Regent Harriman,
Aye.
Commissioner Holt,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent Powers,
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds,
Aye.
Regent Richardson,
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon,
Aye.
and Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Regent Kastner, you have a report for us on the latest Regents Award.
I do, thank you, Vice Chair Reynolds. The Tennessee Board of Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy is a unique designation. Since 2003, TBR has been honoring the dedicated philanthropists and corporate partners who graciously donate their time and finances to TBR institutions through its Excellence in Philanthropy Awards. Today, we will acknowledge the award recipient from the presentation made last September 18th, 2025. The Office of Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs accepted the 2025 Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy as nominated by Pellissippi State Community College, Roane State Community College, and TCAT Knoxville. The award was presented by former Regent Danny Varlin during the ceremony at the Knox Regional Health Science Education Center held on September 18, 2025. This nomination and award is reflective of Knox County's steadfast commitment to higher education across East Tennessee. At Pellissippi State Community College, Knox County's contributions have totaled more than $700,000. This includes a $500,000 investment in the Magnolia Avenue campus, which anchors accessible education in East Knoxville, and a $100,000 contribution for science lab expansions at the Strawberry Plains campus. They have also supported unique initiatives like the Appalachian Heritage Project, helping preserve the rich cultural history of the region. At Roane State Community College, Knox County has played a pivotal role in creating the Knox Regional Health Science and Simulation Center, a collaborative partnership between Roane State and TCAT Knoxville. Knox County's $500,000 pledge was instrumental in bringing the state-of-the-art 130,000 square foot facility to life. The center significantly expands access to healthcare programs, addressing critical shortages of skilled professionals in the region. This innovative facility serves as a hub for training the next generation of healthcare workers, exemplifying how strategic partnerships and visionary philanthropy transform education and workforce development. At TCAT Knoxville, the Knox County Mayor's Scholarship, which has now reached endowment, is breaking down student financial barriers. By providing tools, supplies, and personal protective equipment, this scholarship ensures students are fully equipped and safe as they prepare for high-demand careers. Additionally, Knox County's creation of the Skilled Trades Academy and Regional Training Center, or START Center, has been a game changer for technical education. This innovative facility offers certifications, apprenticeships, and hands-on training directly addressing workforce shortages while empowering students to succeed. Mayor Jacobs' unwavering advocacy for technical and community colleges has inspired collaboration and progress across the region. His leadership reflects a deep belief in the transformative power of education, turning challenges into opportunities for students, families, and industries alike. On behalf of the Tennessee Board of Regents, we are proud to recognize Knox County's Office of Mayor Glenn Jacobs with the highest honor of excellence in philanthropy. For additional comments, please welcome TCAT Knoxville President Kelly Cheney.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for having us here today. We're excited to talk about Mayor Glenn Jacobs and the office in Knox County. They do so much for our community, starting from not only elementary schools, all the way up through college-age students and senior citizens. We're in a special project right now that involves veterans. It's called Heroes Hill, and that is an initiative by Mayor Jacobs to build tiny homes for homeless veterans. And it's just a couple of blocks away from our Liberty Street campus. So our students and our faculty are going to be involved in that too. But I could go on and on and on about the things that Mayor Glenn Jacobs has done for TCAT Knoxville. But it's his love for our students and our community that is the true game changer. Mayor Jacobs is involved, just like I said, not only Heroes Hill, but our Foster Youth Forward movement that we are really starting to gain ground in the Knoxville area. That idea was born because it was a conversation in his office by accident. So we're excited about that. But the other things you need to know about, in addition to his philanthropy that my colleagues behind me are really going to talk about in a few minutes, our Remake Learning Days events. Remake Learning Days is a national movement, and Mayor Glenn Jacobs was with us for the very first one. And if you can imagine his size and stature, even by that photo, it's right scary, that short girl standing next to him. But he was the checkered flag while our preschool students built Lego race cars. So we were really talking about education early with him, but our students love him. He shows up, that the county employees show up for pinnings and graduations and lots of other things that sometimes public officials don't even have the time to do. But we are thankful for his philanthropy and County of Knox for all they have done for TCAT Knoxville. And I really want to turn it over to my colleagues who's played a huge part in the region.
Hey, Kelly, before you leave, I'm a huge fan of Glenn Jacobs too, but I'm also a huge fan of yours. I attended the groundbreaking of the Heroes Hill, and it's very emotional. There was several hundred people there. And I was actually sitting right next to you.
Yes,
I didn't
you
even
were.
realize that, so why didn't you elbow me? But the reason I want to talk about it publicly is that model can be replicated across the state of Tennessee. They're going to be coming to, we're actually going to go visit them. And Jeff McCord, I'm sorry you don't know about this. Heath, you don't know about it yet, but you're going to hear about it soon enough. I've talked to Mayor Jacobs and his community relations person, I can't remember her name, and they're willing to show us how to do it and how not to make the mistakes they made. So hopefully they're going to hear about these being replicated across the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. Our TCAT instructors actually worked alongside Knox County Schools
Yeah.
in starting the first tiny homes. So we're excited, and all the things that he does for our community that people just really don't even realize. Our students just adore him and flock to him. So thank you. And thank you for being there for the
Thank you.
day. I appreciate you.
Okay, boys, sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Please welcome TCAT, our Mississippi State Community College President, Dr. Anthony Wise. Sorry, I messed up your order.
It's all right. Thank you. Just to echo some of the comments that have already been made, we've gotten great support from Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, for our Strawberry Plains campus, our Magnolia Avenue campus. He is a leader who stays connected and engaged on the topic of education in our community from K through 12 through the technical college, the community college, the university system. Wants to see how he can provide support and guidance and resources that help us achieve our goals. So we're grateful for his support on the projects that have already been mentioned, additional support provided for our new aviation maintenance program, and ongoing conversations about some entrepreneurship opportunities at our Hardin Valley campus. So we're so thankful for the support, and I know my colleagues are as well. And I'll turn it over to Chris.
Thank you, President Wise. Dr. Chris Whaley, anything to add, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. In addition to the very important and early contribution, pledge that Mayor Jacobs made along with Knox County, which really got us started. When the appropriation from the state came that we're very thankful for, and it came time for us to go out in the community and raise the match for this facility, Knox County stepped in almost immediately, as you've been told, with $500,000, which was very significant. What you may not know is prior to that, as we were trying to get that appropriation funded and trying to get even maybe temporary space to expand our health science programs, Mayor Jacobs, not only his staff, but Mayor Jacobs personally went out with President Cheney and I to several locations trying to find space for us to be able to increase our program size. That says a lot for someone, that he did not assign that to a staffer. He personally went with us to try to find space in order to expand, have a way for us to expand our health sciences areas. Plus, all three of us have students, many students, who do clinical rotations through now the Dolly Parton Children's Hospital in East Tennessee. And you might know that many of the patients there request to meet celebrities. Regent Varland told us, and our clinical nursing students attest to the fact 100% of the time that they ask Mayor Jacobs to come and talk to a young patient, 100% of the time he made time to come and visit with them personally. And that tells you a whole lot about the heart behind the person, and not only his generosity. So thank you very much.
Thank you, President Whaley. This concludes the Excellence in Philanthropy report. Farewell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a good one, and we all enjoyed being on that beautiful new campus last September. And Miles, to your comments and others about Mayor Jacobs, he's been, twice now to our meetings, I think, to speak. I just continue to be impressed with what we hear. He is the real deal. So thank you for the relationships you guys have formed. It makes a huge difference for all of us. Thank you. Well, with that, it is time for our Chancellor's report. What's on your mind today?
Well, I do have a few things on my mind today, so thank you for asking. There are several issues I'd like to just discuss with you, let you know what's been going on. As you are all aware, we did our governor's budget presentation, and the budget request went in on February 3rd, outlining several investments, or the governor's announcement did. The budget did include from the governor $39.4 million in new operating funding and $12 million for operating outcomes and salary pools, along with $6.6 million for the FY 26-27 insurance premium adjustments that are given to our employees. It also included $18.3 million for 8 TBR maintenance projects. These are roof replacements, infrastructure upgrades, and statewide TCAT repairs. The community colleges that this will impact are Chat State, Cleveland, Columbia, Dyersburg, Run State, and Southwest and Walters. It also included $2.25 million non-reoccurring for 3 mobile technical training labs to expand the correctional education initiatives. These will be labs that we can take around to the prison systems so that we can offer more programs to the prison population, with an additional $1 million non-reoccurring to develop and launch in-person apprenticeship programs aligned with high-demand occupations. And so think about all of the employment opportunities that occur within a prison. These would be apprenticeship opportunities that might happen within construction, within HVAC, within electrical, within the culinary piece of what happens within the prison. Additional investments include given to THEC $10 million non-reoccurring for the workforce training grants focused on nuclear energy, which we hope will be heavily engaged with those. $13.75 million non-reoccurring for the rural health care pathways to support entry into healthcare careers in rural communities. And again, remember that we have been a large player in the rural health care initiative from the very beginning, and hope to be able to expand what we're doing in that arena. Last week, I had the opportunity to present before both the House Finance, Ways and Means Committee and the Senate Education Committee, along with my colleague, Dr. Gentile. We have completed our budget hearings at this point, so you can see we are smiling much bigger this week. We did share information on the very positive momentum across our system, where enrollment has increased 7% overall for the system, 5% at our community colleges, and a huge 14.2% at our technical colleges. But the most important figure that I feel like I shared with both of those groups was the 23,166 post-secondary credentials that were issued last year. It is the highest number ever. So congratulations to our colleges for the great work that you did. I did also share with both of these groups the Foster Youth Forward that you heard Kelly reference. That is our pilot site that we hope to be able to replicate that throughout the state as we continue to work with TCAT Knoxville. I also highlighted the Correctional Education Initiative and the Middle Tennessee Healthcare Alliance that we're continuing to work with. Overall, I felt like the hearings went well. We had good questions and no one turned us down or told us to go home. So right now we feel pretty good about that. As you know, we are currently in the early phase of finding a new president for Cleveland State Community College and TCAT Oneida Huntsville. At Cleveland, the Search Advisory Committee for the next president met last week for their orientation session. They are currently reviewing applicants, with that pool closing on March 10th. The committee will choose semifinalists and schedule first round interviews. In April, the committee will recommend 3 finalists who will have all-day interviews at the college and will come here for an interview at the system level. After the finalist interviews, I'll make a final recommendation to the board for the next president of Cleveland State, with we hope to be an anticipated start date of June 1st. That could go into July depending on where the person is and if they have to finish out a year contract where they currently are. I do want to give special thanks to Vice Chair Emily Reynolds for agreeing to serve as chair for this, not that she has anything going on elsewhere, and to Regents Tom White and Matt Harriman, who also agreed to read all of these applications as they come in. If y'all remember, for a community college, we usually get about 70, so it's a big job. At TCAT Oneida, the Search Advisory Committee met earlier this week to review applicants, and we did choose the semifinalists to be interviewed later this month. When the semifinalist interviews are completed, the committee will choose the finalists to advance to campus interviews to be held in April. Campus interviews, of course, give faculty, students, and staff, and the public the ability to give feedback. And from that group, we will make a recommendation to the board for the next president of TCAT Oneida Huntsville. Special thanks goes to Regent Miles Verdun, who agreed to chair this search, and to Christy Branscombe, Angela Richardson, and McKenna Davis for a great meeting that we had. I don't think we've ever had a meeting or a committee meeting for a search where immediately we all came to consensus on who the top candidates would be. So I think we were scheduled for a 2-hour meeting. It lasted 50 minutes, so we took care of business quickly, and it went well. On February the 11th, Chattanooga State Community College hosted Governor Bill Lee, state and local officials, students, and Tennessee Board of Regents leaders for a ribbon-cutting ceremony at the college's new Ray County Higher Education Center. This event took place at a $20 million, 30,000 square foot facility in Dayton. And I talked about when I was at this facility that when I was president of Chattanooga State for a minute and a half, the very first thing we discussed was Ray County, and that we were in a building that had duct tape on all of the air conditioning units, the roof was leaking, and it was very difficult to find anywhere to park. With the money that the legislature and Governor Lee put forward, this is what they now have, and it is an incredible new facility. So congratulations to Dr. Ashford, to Ray County, to the director of the Ray County Center who's been there through it all to see this come to fruition. We're very, very pleased. So thanks to each of you for making this project happen. And that's all I have for the moment. I'll come back and make a later recommendation later, but that's all I've got for the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
But if you think of anything, we're here.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, but think quickly. So it came to my attention recently, Chancellor, that you mentioned your time at Chattanooga State and, of course, now your nice run here as Chancellor of our board, that you have hit a 10-year anniversary mark. I know, that's very exciting. And here's to 10 more, let me
And
add.
thank y'all so much for letting me stay.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you're not going anywhere for the next 10 either, as far as I'm concerned. But I did call on my friend Chris Ayers at TCAT Harriman and have a little something special to give you from your board today. And you give these all the time. So we are past time for you to have a challenge to celebrate your
We weren't
10.
supposed to cry today.
I know.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Yes.
And thank you to whomever made this. If you're at the college, let me know their name, please. I want to thank this is cute. Thank you.
I was going to tell you I went over to Harriman and made it for you, but I knew. But I knew I couldn't make that story work very well. But it does read in recognition of her 10 years of dedicated service to TBR. And thanks to Chris, you even have a beautiful box to keep it. Thank you. It's a small token of our appreciation of you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. And now we're going to move on to other items so you can cry. Okay. Thank you all very much. And it's been a grand 10 years. We do not have any unfinished business to come before the board today, so we will move on to our new business and begin with informational reporting. And we'll first bring up our Vice Chancellor Troy Grant, who is busy working on Tennessee direct admissions. I know you have a lot to fill us in on and probably have some questions and comments along the way.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Just a little bit of an update. We talked about this at our last board meeting, and a request was made to give an update during today's meeting, and that's what we're going to do, and I'm going the wrong way. There's even a little sticker that says forward, and I didn't push the right one. Okay, here we go. So direct admissions, just as a little bit of a recap. Direct admissions is an initiative led by the Tennessee Higher Education Commission in partnership with institutions across the state. Essentially, this has been designed as a research study. There are two kind of broad treatment groups. They're made up of the Tennessee Promise applicants, which was roughly 65,000 to 60,000 students each year. 2/3 of those students are receiving a letter of direct admissions, which is essentially saying, you know, Stephen, I'm going to use you as an example. Stephen, your college material. You have met all of the requirements. You already have everything that you need in order to be enrolled at a college. All you have to do is to go to this enrollment form, fill it out, and that really kicks off your process. So it's proactive communication saying that a student is college material, that they are preliminarily admitted to an institution. The call to action is then to go to fill out an enrollment form. That enrollment form then kind of sets forth, like very much like a college application would, the process of enrolling a student. What's novel about this work, and there are in excess of 10 states who do something along these lines, this study is also looking at the addition of financial aid information. So 2/3 of students who are Tennessee Promise students are going to be receiving a letter half of those students are receiving a letter that has some information about financial aid. So not just that you're enrolled, but here is the realm of financial aid that's available from state aid that can help you get from where you are to where it is that you need to go. And so what the study is really looking at is, does direct admissions in this way move the needle, but does the addition of financial aid information move the needle even further? So the commitment we as institutions and as partners have is that we would align with TEAC, we would align our admissions criteria, relatively easy for us in terms of being an open access institution. Every TBR community college and TCAT is participating, and then there are 21 public and private four-year institutions that are also participating. Just here's a list of those institutions. You got to get a sense of where they are. They do span sectors and the state. And so again, we've kind of talked through this, but using information from that Tennessee Promise application, from FAST, which was THEC's system, financial aid system. The Financial Aid System of Tennessee is the acronym. Also transcript data, ACT records that come to the state. That is the data that then populates these letters. And so we are, as you know from our strategic plan, an open access system. Every letter that goes to a student has a TCAT, 2 TCATs, and 2 community colleges geographically close to where that student lives. And then when you go to the enrollment form, they can choose among any of our institutions. The four-year institutions, however, are kind of cold based on the student's academic credentials. So if a student had let's say a 20 on the ACT, there might be some institutions that might not be on that list because they wouldn't qualify for admissions, whereas every TBR institution would be eligible and on the list of students that the letter that a student receives. The letters come from the governor, and they were mailed out in late November, early December. This is kind of a sense of what the kind of look and feel of them. There's the letter, and there's an info sheet that basically gives an overview of the messaging around college access, and that they are college material, along with the list of institutions that they are eligible for. The call to action, again, is that QR code. And so here's basically, and this is data, and I have some updated data as of just this morning, but this is when our slides were due. This is the data of that day, that there were 7,822 students who had engaged with the enrollment form, that there were 5,810 who had submitted an enrollment form across the state. So those first 2 circles, those are students. Now, the last 2 circles pertain to our campuses, that there were 5,096 submissions to community colleges. So, one student can submit more than 1 application. So that's why if you were like, wow, of the 5,800, 5,000 of them are coming to us. There is some element where those are submissions as opposed to individual independent students. And then 3,533 submissions to our TBR institutions. Now, while I don't have updated data in terms of the submissions statewide, over the last 2 weeks, the engagement number has risen to 8,172, and the actual submission number is 6,121. What is happening in terms of the student experience at this point is that TEAC is regularly sending out text messages and other communication, and some of this is divvied up based on the different treatment groups, kind of see what communication is most effective. So they're receiving text messages, kind of encouraging them to re-engage with that enrollment form if they have not yet already. So what this has looked like for us as a system, for the last 5 months, we have been holding a call for all of the admissions and records folks who are associated with this at our campuses for, it has lasted from 15 minutes to nearly 2 hours, where every Friday we have an open call to basically have folks from THEC provide some feedback to us, also for the institutions to ask THEC questions, but also to share amongst institutions what's working well, challenges that they're having, how can we alleviate those challenges, and leveraging the kind of communal kind of group to do that. That call includes our institutions, and several of the LGIs have been participating in that. And is our design both to strengthen, kind of like rising tides lift all ships for our folks, But I also think it's been a great venue for us to partner really well with THEC. We've been able to catalyze institutions directly from our institutions about how this initiative can be better right now, but also as we look to next year and what that looks like. And I'll tell you a couple of things that are coming out of that. And I talked to Stephen before, I just want to make sure not to get ahead of them, but there's things that they are looking at that would really change the landscape of what this looks like. And I think some of this is driven by some of the feedback from our campuses. For instance, the Tennessee Promise application typically opens in August. There is some consideration to opening it in May so that juniors this year would fill it out, and that would give us a larger runway to then start sending these letters out much, much, much earlier. Statewide College Application Month happens in September. It would be great if these letters could go out in such a way that we could capitalize on that statewide marketing push to better increase these numbers. One of the things that we've also seen in sending the letters so late is that some of the students who have filled out the enrollment form, there's many of them are new applicants, but there's some of them who had already applied through the traditional means. If we move the timeline up, we'll mitigate some of that and really make sure that the resources are getting to the student the way I like to think about it. If not for an intervention, they wouldn't be engaging with us, and that's the kind of student that we really want to reach with a statewide initiative like this. So we are participating actively in TX's kind of work to envision what this will look like next year, and really strengthening the, both the ties that bond here, but also our opportunity to reach students where they are. So with that, I'm happy to give the update, but are there any questions that I can answer regarding our participation or the initiative more broadly?
Dr. Gentile, anything to add? And thank you for taking the reins on this.
Yeah, I just want to thank Vice Chancellor Grant here on helping us get to this point, and we are lockstep with each other together on this. This is a trial this year, an experiment this year, and I do look forward to seeing what results come back. We've got the numbers, but the results are going to point out to us in more research is, do we move the needle on who's enrolling from where and to where? I look forward to seeing that come through. Then also, as Troy mentioned, just making it more, taking it on early on and get the information out there quicker will be what we'll be doing next year. But it's been exciting. I want to thank the campuses for partnering with us on this. One of our visions, the master plan that we approved just a couple months ago, is we need to make higher education easier to understand and remove the barriers that we put up there. This is a big step in that direction. So again, thank you, Troy, for your team.
Well, one of the great opportunities I would say, just to add on to that, there's the piece of what we're going to learn, like, was this statewide initiative effective? But there's these sub-strands, just because we're talking about 40,000 plus students. It's a big sample, right? And so the researchers have also done some work around different communication threads and what kind of communication kind of works. And that has implications for statewide work. But there are things that we as a system and individual campuses will glean from that in terms of where was there a good ROI and how we communicated and what it is that we said in that communication that have ramifications that are beyond just like a statewide work, but really kind of have legs into the individual campuses and the work that they're doing every day.
Jeremy Harold.
First, I really like this, and I like all the minutia of it that you were just talking about, so thank you for working together on this to get it done. Just a question that I thought of as you were talking about the numbers, can we compare where we are right now in, right where it is, maybe applications, to where we would have been, or where we were at this point last year? Anything related to that? Yes?
So I'm going to look around and look at, yes, Dr. Moreland shook her head yes, and so I'm going to say that is a yes. But I don't have that data, but it's something I think that we can look at, yes.
I'll come back later.
Regent Bradshaw.
Thank you. I'm curious about the communication too. Both my daughters are just past school age, but they get a lot of things in the mail, credit card companies and et cetera, et cetera. Are the schools doing some early communicating or advertising so they know to look for this in the mail, and they just don't think it's something that's along with all this other stuff and it just never gets open?
So I'm going to answer your question in two different ways. So one of the things that was like both an opportunity in terms of we can learn, but also a challenge of this first year is that it is a reach design. There's like some guardrails in terms of not getting ahead of THEC before they send those letters out as to not taint the outcome. And so I think there was communication in terms of to school counselors, letting principals and other school staff to know these things. but have our campuses then leaned into communication like now that the letters have gone out 100%. That's on top of what would be the normal apparatus that every campus deploys in terms of recruiting students. Now, in the future, however, where we don't really have to care is maybe not the right word, be as concerned about kind of like the cleanliness of like the intervention, yeah, absolutely, there will be a lot of that work. Yeah, I agree.
Anyone else? Well done. Continue to keep us posted. This is exciting.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. Dr. Lemming, did I see you at a distance earlier? There she is. TBR Cred and high impact practices. You've got some other good work going on.
Yeah, good afternoon, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor Tidings, and members of the board. In December, you'll recall we launched our TBR Cred at a launch event. Today's update is to show you a little bit more about the TBR Cred, but also the immediate future for the TBR Cred, both within TBR and nationally, to give you a sense of how the TBR Cred is just one piece to this larger shift that's happening nationally on how people apply for jobs, as well as how employers can recruit and use the TBR Cred. So this is housed under our completion agenda and our bucket for our strategic plan under the completion bucket. You can see the other items that are included in that. But the quote on the screen is one that the campuses have heard me say many times over the last 10 years. And that is that I don't really care where a student attends school in our state, but I care about what they do when they're there. And I want all of our students to have the same level of experiences regardless of where they attend in the state. And that is at the heart of what the TBR Cred will show. So the TBR Cred took us about 7 years to develop, and to really make that happen, we had a variety of philanthropic partners that funded that work. It was funded in 2024 to take our pilot work to scale across all of our institutions. It's for a variety of stakeholders. So obviously it's for our students and learners because it provides a richer picture that's validated of their skills when they're applying for jobs or even transferring to another institution in the state. Employers are going to use it because they are going to gain a more authentic view of a candidate's competencies, work ethic, real-world experience in those high-impact practices. And then our institutions are also going to have value in the TBR Cred because it highlights student learning outcomes and help articulate the learning and value of the time that the student had at the institution. Now, I recently was able to contribute to a national report on the LER ecosystem, which looks at how learning and employment records are moving from concept to actual infrastructure. This report illustrates that the TBR Cred fits into a larger national infrastructure that's building around a talent marketplace, and learner records is just a part of that. It also highlights how our system is a leader in this space, and it creates a unique opportunity for not only our TBR students, but also our TBR businesses, or Tennessee businesses, excuse me. We are only at 65% at the time that this report was published because we just launched in December with all of our fall graduates. But our goal is to keep building for not only all graduates, and all of our graduates will receive one this spring after spring graduation, but also access to 100% of our students even before they graduate. So I want to give a little history here because this is how it's evolving. For much of the last century, the learner experience was front-loaded. Americans would get their education in secondary or primary school, and then they would choose to go straight to work, or they would go to a post-secondary institution to gain the training that they needed to enter the workforce and for their careers. Today, that model doesn't hold. We've got too much, rapid technological change, and so these evolving job roles require continuous learning delivered at the right time throughout a career. So while durable skills can be developed and honed early in one's career, technical and professional skills have to be continually developed to keep up with the pace of an evolving job role. And as a result, learning is increasingly modular, cyclical, and distributed across multiple institutions' platforms over time. So we start with the transcript. We're all familiar with that, with course completion and grades with a single institution. Those don't travel well across educational systems. So to meet the needs of our modern education system, learners need a way to express their knowledge, skills, and abilities in a shared language. And that credit for multiple forms of learning, prior learning, can be included in that. So as the learner moves between education and work over a lifetime, it can build, and that's the learner record. It's also a value to the learner because a lot of times when they're applying for jobs, they have to reprove their history in some way, validate their skills to an employer. So learning mobility, along with learner agency over the records, is basically the fundamental requirement for today's modern workforce. At the same time, resumes are losing credibility at scale as job seekers turn to AI tools to generate customized cover letters and resumes and automate their job application process. So we're hearing more and more that employers are flooded with claims that they can't really effectively trust. Employers are spending a lot of time to try to recheck credentials, and it affects their workflow. So it's a more reliable way to have, obviously, something that's validated for the employer. And then our institutions are being asked to also validate who qualifies for programs. And again, that traditional model where institutions controlled that transcript is just not going to fit how people move through education and into work. And so that's really why we're now in this space nationally talking about portable, verifiable records that we can trust without centralizing that control. And that's the LER. And the LER is responding to those pressures. But the nice thing is it's a verifiable data source. When we look at what employers say they want, there is a one-for-one match to the high impact practices that we're including on our learner record. So this is a survey that AAC and U did in 2023. It's a survey they do of executives across the nation and hiring managers, and it shows the experiences they're looking for from employees. And then the percentage by which they felt our students are coming to them with, not just ours, all students, are coming to them with those skills. And it's a one-for-one for the high-impact practices that we are coding in our information system, and that'll show up on the learner record. All right, so this is where the TBR credit comes into play. As a learner record, students can place it into a digital wallet, just like many of you might do for, other cards right now, memberships. They can share their learning, their skills, their competencies with employers, and they can take it with them wherever they need to verify their experiences. It moves someone from just saying that they have the experiences and skills on a resume to a way that the employer can verify those skills and competencies in the application process. So this is our TBR cred. It is a learner record. It's a structured, portable, and verifiable way of organizing digital credentials and records so they can be understood, trusted, and reused across a person's career. This is not a generic data approach. It really has interoperability standards so that it can be machine readable, verifiable, and reusable across various systems. And a learner record can be a single digital credential, so it can be a license, a certificate, or a badge, or a collection of records accumulated over time that records their achievements, their competencies, and maybe even their employment history. So what makes this record part of an LER is not the source of the data, but it's the structure by which it's built. So at the core, the learner record introduces a normalization layer with the record that matters for education, employment, and public systems. And that normalization of the data is what's allowing us to have common frameworks with, again, interoperability and not the centralization. Again, it's portable, verified, and employers and employees can reuse this. So what does the student get? Well, our fall graduates are going to receive an email through the institution's CRM, and then graduates are going to receive a communication to that personal email to claim their cred. And it's going to have a link provided in the email from their campus. The student goes to this portal page to claim their record, and the student is going to have lifetime access with no expiration. The work is coordinated between the TBR System Office and for our TCATs with institutional registrars at our community colleges. And we've already held a webinar to do all the technical setup. TBR IT is also coordinating directly with consultations to our larger campuses. So we are prepared to launch those. And again, the fall graduates already are receiving those this month. This is an example of what the student's going to have access to order to share credentials. So this shows that they can select what they want to share, how it directs them to share it with the Smart Resume, which is included in the cost of the TBR cred. And they can add their own information to the resume, but it's going to show an employer what we're verifying versus what a student is claiming about their skills and competencies. And then this is an example of what this will look like on the Smart Resume. And you can see it has not only the verification of their skills and credentials at the top under the education, but what I really like about this is it also shows the things they do outside the classroom. So it also verifies that they were involved in Skills USA, or they held a position in a leadership organization, or were part of an honor society. This is a closer look at the credential verification. Again, the students are going to get access to this, and it pulls into a Smart Resume platform, verifying that. And I think the most important part is how the employer now will get to recruit and hire graduates with the skills that they're looking for. So how do they do that? That's through a talent marketplace. And so the exciting thing, this is a kind of a two-sided platform. So we have the data from our students that can go into the portal, and then we also have job postings, data from the job postings that go on the employer side. So I would liken this to, all of us have used websites to secure a hotel room, and you say, well, here's the location, here's what I want for amenities, here's the time frame, and then you get a list of hotel rooms that meet that criteria. That's all generated through an algorithm. It'd be the same thing for the talent marketplace, where we're saying we're looking for these talents, and then it's going to match us with students or graduates who have those skills and competencies that meet those requirements, and it's going to send that to you as an employer, and you can recruit them. But it's also going to allow the graduate to apply for those jobs because there's a match with the criteria that they're looking for. It can also be used if we have not just open positions, but informal learning training opportunities for existing employees. So we're looking for expanding skill sets with our current employees. There's a way that you can do that within a talent marketplace as well. So we're moving to the next phase of this work, and that is the development of the HR piece, the talent marketplace. We're going to pilot test how an HR system can use that data and from the TBR cred, and we're going to do that internally with our internal HR units. And then we'll have the proof of concept that we can share with other Tennessee businesses to show them what works, how that works, and then recruit them into that talent marketplace so they can start posting jobs as well. We have the opportunity ahead of us also to partner with our four-year institutions about what this looks like in the transfer space. And so we have an upcoming convening where I'll be introducing to the university partners there that if they want to begin working with us on the technical setup for the transfer of the TBR cred into their system so they can keep the student building upon their record, that we will start working with them on that technical setup. What's important is at the convening, we're also going to be pairing up our community colleges with their top 2 transfer institutions to work through a workshop series of how they can improve the transfer process. And we have paid for consultants for each of the universities through ACRO to help them also think through their processes to make it easier for our students to transfer into the universities through that transfer process. And so they're going to have this consultant available for the next year to work with them on that process for community colleges to universities. We are the first state again to do that in terms of there was a credit mobility challenge that was offered nationally, and so we're doing that as a whole state. Usually it's just institutions doing that, so we're really excited about that opportunity as well. I'd be remiss not to point out that all of this is work that has been going on with our faculty, and without our faculty, we would not be able to say that our students are engaging in these high-impact practices. We've been doing this for 10 years to scale, and the Ambassador Program is an example of faculty who are stepping up to serve as advocates for other faculty and encourage their growth. This year, we celebrated our 5th anniversary of the High Impact Practice Ambassador Cohort, We have a training that we do here at the system office in January, and as you can tell from the picture, this is our largest group, includes university pathway ambassadors as well. And we have 38 ambassadors this year doing this work across the state. We also, at the fall meeting, I shared with you that we're developing dashboards. I just want to let you know those are complete. If you want to do a deeper dive into our HIP data, we have an example here of some of the things you'll see, which is the number of students participating in high-impact practices by the different practice at each of our community colleges by year, and you can slice that through a variety of ways. And then I just highlight Columbia State because the system average is on the left. They are exceeding the system average in the number of students who are participating in high-impact practices. And that significant increase in just a year is because we're doing a lot of work with our institutions to make sure the data that's going into our system is accurate, because we knew we were going to launch the TBR cred. And so you can see that they've been doing some really good work there to make sure that that happens. And that's why there's been such an increase. I'm obviously really enthusiastic about this work. And I'd be happy to have more conversation with you all about the future possibilities. It's really, again, an emerging space, but we are out in front, and I'm really excited about the opportunities it can provide for our students and our graduates, as well as the fact that it encourages them to engage in experiential learning opportunities on our campuses, which I'm really passionate about. So, but I'd be happy to answer some questions now, too, if people have them.
Commissioner?
So, amazing presentation.
Thank you.
It's really exciting to see that. Couple of questions. Was there at any point did the student opt in to that, or is their presence on the website, their acknowledgement, their enrollment acknowledgement that they are willing to share their information?
So the information is there. It's in our student information system. We have collected that. For them to use it to say, I want to have a TBR credit, they do have to go in and turn it on.
Okay.
So that's them opting in. So they're receiving marketing materials to say, hey, this is what this is, and if you want to claim it, go in and claim it. But they don't have to do it.
Is this active to the point where their students are aware of this now? This is an option for them?
This is our turbo. We're really doing the marketing push. So you saw some of the graphics, but we sent out a marketing toolkit to all of our campuses. We're really doing our big push now because of the spring graduates. And so all of our campuses have those toolkits. I just talked to SGA leaders who are here today, and I said, I need all of you to tell your friends about this, because they were super excited. I mean, more than I even expected them to be about it. So it's going to be word of mouth, because, I mean, it's telling employers what it is. What is a talent marketplace? A lot of people don't even know what that is. So it's going to take a little while to get the word out. But we're hoping once we launch it to all of the students, they'll get super excited about it.
And the second part, so connectivity back to like LinkedIn or other social media, is there an option for that to be placed there?
Absolutely. They will be able to do it because it's those standards, interoperability, so they can put it on their LinkedIn profile if they want. Yep.
It's an excellent move. And like, you should, obviously you are, but we are very proud. You should be very proud. And
Thank you.
It looks like you are. So hopefully students will respond to that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Regent Harold?
Agree. Does this, or can this, ultimately interact with the state licensing entities, whether it's commerce or health or TDAC or whomever that issues the license once they earn the education?
Yes. I will tell you, I'm kind of working behind the scenes on some partnerships right now with other state agencies. So there are some states where first they did a wallet with teachers and their certifications. And so there's some states that's where they verify their credentials for teaching. There are some states where they did just on the K-12 side, and then they're showing, that they graduated, and like for dual enrolled students, how that can be built, for them. There's one state in particular that I've been talking to because we're really interested in this, is like Department of Human Services or Department of Labor. There's lots of programs to support individuals in need for various things. What would it be like if we just had one central place where all this data was going, and you could verify they're enrolled at one of our institutions so they qualify for these programs to get the assistance they need? So yes, there's a lot of that out there that I hope we can pursue.
Anyone else? Impressive work, as always. Chancellor, any words? Thank you.
And a belated welcome to Commissioner Reynolds for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you, Heidi. Keep up the good work. Next on our agenda is a legislative update with Executive Vice Chancellor Kim McCormick and our Assistant Vice Chancellor John Williams. You sure the Capitol is safe now that you're here?
I've been staring at that pen for 10 minutes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So good afternoon, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellors, members of the board. Today we will provide an update on notable bills that our Department of Government Relations has been following or tracking this session. As we move deeper into the legislative calendar, committees are beginning to set their final calendars. We're so excited about that. And for your awareness, the House K-12 Subcommittee and the House Ed Administration Subcommittee will hear their final calendars on March the 10th. And the House Higher Ed Subcommittee is scheduled to hear its final calendar on March 18th. And the Senate Ed Committee will hear its final calendar on March the 11th. We are hearing rumors, and you all may have been hearing also that, at least from the Senate side, that the goal is to be done by April 15th. So that would be great. It's this is an election year, so everyone wants to try to get home and start working on those campaigns. So John and I are going to walk through several bills that are most relevant to our colleges and the system office. I am going to go through the ones that are no longer with us, but they could have been very impactful to TBR, and then John is going to take on those that are still moving through the process. So first up, this one's a great one. Senate Resolutions 286, 87, and 88 confirm the appointment of 3 of our regents, Regent Branscombe, Regent Harriman, and the most notable reappointment of Regent Burdine. And how could he not be reappointed, folks? Look what he had in his lap that day.
A rose between two thorns there.
Yeah. Anyway, we are so excited to have you all and have Regent Burdine back. So that was wonderful. I also want to highlight that Chancellor presented the TBR budget to the House Finance, Ways and Means Committee and the Senate Ed Committee recently, and both of those presentations were very well received. You can see them here on the screen. And Senate Bill, we're going to move to Senate Bill 1547, which is our sunset legislation, as Chancellor mentioned earlier, passed both House and Senate a few weeks ago, and the bill will extend the Tennessee Board of Regents for 4 years through June of 2030. Do you think you'll be done with it 2030, or do you think we want to keep going? I don't know. Yeah. Next, Senate Bill 1838 would prohibit the Board of Regents, state university boards, and the University of Tennessee from granting new tenure to faculty members on or after July 1 of 2026. This is one of 3 tenure bills that we've seen this year. This bill was taken off notice in House Higher Ed Sub, and we do not anticipate it moving forward this year. Next, Senate Bill 1899 would allow a public college or university to suspend a faculty member, including tenured faculty, without pay when an investigation or termination hearing is underway. This legislation would also require presidents or CEOs of an institution appointed on or after July 1 of 2026 to be confirmed by the General Assembly. This bill was taken off notice yesterday in House Higher Ed Sub, and we are hearing that it will not advance this year. All right, but there's more. Senate Bill 1608 would waive tuition and fees at public colleges and universities for the dependent child of a law enforcement officer or firefighter who was killed or died as a result of injuries sustained in the line of duty. This bill was assigned to General Sub in the Senate, and it will not advance this year. So, if the bill goes to General Sub, that's pretty much it. All right, now we will turn to ABC John Williams to discuss those bills that are still advancing. Back there.
Thank you, Dr. McCormick. Good afternoon. I'll go through some of the bills that we're still tracking this session that are still making its way through the legislature. I won't go through all 600 that we're tracking, but I'll look at about 20 more that we're following. So next up, Senate Bill 1649, House Bill 1882. This only applies to the state universities, the LGIs, but it is one we are monitoring. This legislation would require all gubernatorial appointments to a state university board to be confirmed by joint resolution of the House and the Senate prior to commencing a term of office. It requires the term of all state university board members to commence on February the 1st. This has passed out of the House Higher Education Subcommittee. It's headed to the Full Education Committee. It still has not been calendared in the Senate yet. Senate Bill 2079, House Bill 1833, revises the appointment structure for the Tennessee Higher Education Commission by reducing the number of appointments made by the governor and increasing those made by the speakers of the House and Senate. It would also redefine on-time graduation for purposes of the outcomes-based funding formula, defining it as 2 years for community colleges and 4 years for universities. Additionally, the bill would limit the Commission's ability to approve institution-specific tuition increases to cases where an institution has demonstrated improvement in its on-time graduation rate. And it also requires governing boards to adopt a policy describing how revenue from out-of-state undergraduate tuition may be used to help mitigate tuition and fee costs for in-state students. This is passed through the Senate Government Operations Committee and will head to the Senate Education Committee next. Senate Bill 2159, House Bill 2106, caps at $10 million per fiscal year the total amount of funds in the Lottery for Education account that may be transferred to the Tennessee Promise Scholarship Special Reserve account. This is passed the House Higher Education Subcommittee and will be heard in the Senate Education Committee this afternoon. Senate Bill 2141, House Bill 2095, makes several technical updates to the higher education statutes. It removes outdated reporting requirements, updates certain scholarship rules under the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation, and changes a few reporting timelines. It also allows THEC to designate transfer institutions, exempts registered apprenticeship education from the Higher Education Authorization Act, and removes some outdated statutory language related to the University of Tennessee's former extension program. This is passed all the way through the Senate and is next going to be heard in the full House House Education Committee. Senate Bill 2259, House Bill 2194 would require all public institutions of higher education in Tennessee to adopt and post policies that preserve institutional neutrality, free expression, and civil discourse on campus. It also clarifies and updates how faculty tenure and disciplinary processes should be structured. So this is the other tenure bill we've been tracking this session. It specifically ensures that tenure decisions and disciplinary actions are treated as distinct, protecting academic freedom while also outlining due process and disciplinary authority consistent with state and federal law. This is passed through the House Education Committees and is next going to be heard in the Senate Education Committee next week. Senate Bill 2094, House Bill 1789, would allow spouses and dependents of active duty service members or veterans to be charged in-state tuition even if they haven't lived in Tennessee for a year or currently live out of state. This one has not been calendared yet in either chamber. Senate Bill 1577, House Bill 1518 would allow a student who did not initially qualify for the Tennessee Hope Scholarship to regain eligibility as a transfer student if they meet certain requirements. This one's passed through Senate Ed and was referred to the lottery calendar in the House Higher Ed Subcommittee, which they should hear in a couple of weeks. Senate Bill 1967, House Bill 1838, would require LEAs in public charter schools to give all high school students, not just seniors, the opportunity to take a nationally recognized career readiness assessment, and that's the ACT Work Keys assessment. It also directs, as it was originally written, TBR to create a framework allowing students to earn a credential through that assessment and use that as transcribable credit that can be counted towards a post-secondary degree. We've talked to the people at ACT and we think they're taking that portion of the language of the bill out. It has not been calendared in the Senate yet, and it was rolled in K-12s yesterday. Senate Bill 1025, House Bill 912, and this is a new one. It was a caption bill, and we got the amendment language actually Monday. It establishes 2 pilot programs related to K-12 education, but the bill also creates a new associate degree teacher license for grades K through 8 and allows community colleges to serve as educator preparation providers. Candidates would complete an associate's degree required coursework and assessments, and a 1-year paid clinical experience before receiving the license. And this did pass the K-12 subcommittee in the House yesterday, and it'll be up in the full committee probably next week. Senate Bill 1959, House Bill 2025, would require each public college or university governing board to install and maintain a Charlie Kirk Memorial Courtyard for civil debate on the main campus of each institution it governs. This one was actually sent to summer study in the House Higher Education Subcommittee right before this meeting started, so it's not going to advance this year. Senate Bill 1741, House Bill 1476 would require public colleges and universities to adopt and incorporate free expression and institutional neutrality policies modeled on the University of Chicago's principles. It also establishes requirements related to invited speakers, academic freedom, and enforcement, including allowing legal action if an institution or its agents fail to comply. This one was also rolled this morning in House Higher Education Subs. It'll probably be up again in a couple of weeks. It's also scheduled to be heard in the Senate Education Committee today. Senate Bill 1833, House Bill 1772 would prohibit holding a college or university liable for negligence based solely on a person's prior criminal conviction when admitting, enrolling, or providing housing to that individual. This passed all the way through on the House side, but was general subbed in the Senate Judiciary Committee, so this one's also not moving forward. Senate Bill 1713, House Bill 1664 would require the head of each state agency, local government, and public college or university to submit an annual certification to the comptroller stating that the entity has not implemented a discriminatory preference related to diversity, equity, or inclusion. This one's passed the Senate State and Local Government Committee and will next be heard in the House Departments and Agencies Subcommittee. Senate Bill 2208, House Bill 2198. This is the DEI Compliance Certification Act. It would require all public institutions of higher education to submit an annual certification affirming compliance with state laws related to DEI initiatives. Each institution would need to provide a report outlining steps taken to eliminate prohibited DEI practices, along with a sworn statement from the Chief Executive Officer. This bill also includes potential enforcement mechanisms for institutions that fail to comply, and this one's not been calendared in either chamber yet. Senate Bill 2634, House Bill 2167 would require all public institutions of higher education to observe an academic holiday on each general election day. This was actually amended right before we came in here, and it changed it from a shall to a may, so it's optional now that can be an option for an institution to do. Senate Bill 2330, House Bill 2281 would require state departments and agencies to provide information and records directly to the General Assembly's Fiscal Review Committee staff, including through electronic access where available. This is passed through the Senate State and Local Government Committee and the House Public Service Subcommittee today. We actually got word yesterday this doesn't apply to higher education, it's only state departments, so, but we have been tracking this one. Senate Bill 2331, House Bill 2216 clarifies which state procurement contracts must be reviewed by the General Assembly's Fiscal Review Committee. This bill will be heard next week in Senate State and Local Government Committee. It passed through the House Public Service Subcommittee today. And last up, Senate Bill 2478, House Bill 2514 would remove the current criminal offense of carrying a firearm on the property of a university or college campus, including both public and private institutions that are not K-12 serving. This bill was rolled 1 week in House Criminal Justice Subcommittee this morning. And then I also want to briefly mention Senate Bill 1873 is an administration bill carried by Leader Lamberth and Senator Johnson. As introduced, it makes a number of changes related to state employment and state employee benefits. And so we don't have a slide on this one, but I also wanted to make sure you knew we were tracking it as it moves throughout the process. But that concludes my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions for John and Kim? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate the rundown. As a recovering lawmaker, it's good to hear about it. I'm glad not to have to be there all the time. So the work keys assessment, which is, I think, a great tool for us to introduce students to career and technical education. Was there a fiscal note associated with that legislation? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but if there was that a state fiscal note, or was that imposition on the local governments?
I'll have to go back and check. I can't remember off the top of my head if there was one, but we can find that out and let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? I'm sorry? Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Dr. Dutow. Okay.
I got a question about I forget which bill it was. You said you just got an amendment today about an associate degree in teaching. Was that to be a trial basis, or was that for just allowing it to occur?
Yeah, it is not a pilot.
Towards the not a pilot.
And just to lean in a little bit on that, there are some things that weren't mentioned in the legislation that are part of it, that these will be selected participants in the program. It won't be just anybody that can apply for this. And also part of the qualifications are that they have to go and finish a bachelor's degree, but they can start teaching after the internship. So it's a way to get teachers into the classroom to help with the shortage, but make sure that they continue on the pathway in their own personal education as well.
I have a follow-on question to that too. If I'm not mistaken, we heard about this at the THEC convening. I think Speaker Sexton might have planted a seed that this was something on his radar. And I'm just curious, do we know if there is a national movement that aligns with this idea, or is this a unique Tennessee?
I think we'll be fairly unique in doing this, and it is something that the speaker is very much advocating for, and talked to us about trying to figure out a way to do this. And while we currently are already training teachers to go into preschool, so we have some of the training already, but we're going to be working with our four-year university partners and make sure that the curriculum that's designed will help them become licensed. In the state of Tennessee, there is still a licensure process that they will have to go through. So they will have to meet the same criteria. There are an awful lot of individuals that are out working, mature individuals that will make great teachers, that we really could benefit by having them in the classroom at a faster pace than having them go through that entire 4 years up front, and that's what this is intended to be marketed toward.
So is this in critical shortage needs areas? Because our vacancy rates aren't really as bad as people think they are. I think we're down to 800, 1,400. So are we talking about critical shortage areas? Because that it would be a great opportunity to fill, math, science, special education.
Yeah, we have not targeted specific areas, but remember that our programs are based on placement, so students will need to be able to get jobs. So once this all passes and we go toward implementation, then we will be looking at areas where there'll be employment opportunities to begin.
I think the legislation is written in a way that you have that ability to do that and
Yeah.
to make those decisions over this next year.
Again, it was written by the speaker asked us to help write this legislation in an effort to help in areas where he did see that there were some shortages and a way to get people into the field, qualified people that have got good training.
So, Vice Chair Reynolds, if there are no further questions, the only thing else we have is to remind you that we have Chancellor's reception this afternoon at 5 o'clock with those members of the General Assembly. So that will be at the hotel. So thank you.
We look forward to that. Thank you. As always, a good update, and congratulations to our 3 colleagues on your confirmation. It's always nice to have it done, so well done. And Miles even brought his granddaughter along. That was really Miss Andy.
She's going to show up here in a minute, too.
Okay, all right, good. She is always welcome.
Beware.
Yes. Dr. Fox, our annual financial report, and thanks for all the work you've done on this.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Chancellor, and members of the board. Today, I am presenting the report on the financial performance of the community college and TCAT sectors for 2025. In addition, included in your, really loud, sorry. Tell me if I'm too loud. In addition, included in your advanced materials, you should have received financial performance data by individual college, as well as a copy of the fiscal year 24-25 annual financial report for the Tennessee Board of Regents system. This report, just as a reminder, includes consolidated financial information for not only the TBR Community Colleges, TCATS, and System Office, but it also includes the 6 locally governed institutions, which are the 6 public universities not governed by the UT system. So that's all included in that annual financial report. Both the annual financial report and the following financial presentation are informational items only and require no action. TBR policy on institutional financial performance requires that on an annual basis, the board shall be advised of the aggregate overall financial performance of our system's institutions. To aid in this assessment, we use various financial ratios that are widely accepted in higher education, including the Composite Financial Index Score, or CFI, and unrestricted net asset position. Oftentimes, you'll hear it called a fund balance or a reserve balance. The aggregate results of the following slides include, you'll see sector average performance levels, expected or target performance levels, and then watch levels. The first chart shows the total amount of adjusted unrestricted net position or fund balance by sector and the change of those assets from FY21 to FY25. Again, this was in your materials. I know it's very small on the screen. But as you can see from the chart, FY25 was a positive year for both our community college and TCAT sectors. In FY24, you will notice there that we began to see the community colleges returning to pre-pandemic levels. And this comes from the CARES and HERF funding that they had received during that time being exhausted and somewhat inflating those percentages that you see in those pandemic years. And that stabilization continued in FY25. So the adjusted unrestricted net assets for our community colleges increased by about $64 million, while the TCATs increased by roughly $25 million. Additionally, this report is telling us that our community colleges have about 12.9 months of unrestricted net assets available, and the TCATs have about 11.2 months available. Anything under 2 months is considered watch level, and 7 months is considered the ideal level. In TBR staff opinion, this measure of adjusted unrestricted net position is one of the best gauges of financial performance, and that's why we use this in addition to the CFI. It gives a clear picture of how much the bottom line is moving and in which direction. So it also gives you an idea of the sufficiency of their fund balance, their net assets, or their reserves, if you will. Next, we'll look by sector at the various other financial ratios that are used in the CFI calculation. The CFI is a financial index that is widely used not only in higher education, but across all sectors to measure the overall health of an institution or an organization. I'll briefly describe these ratios as we go through each slide, and please note that going forward on the slides, the green line is expected performance, the red line is watch level, and the blue lines show the performance ratio for each of our sectors. For efficiency purposes, we do have both the community college and TCAT sector on one chart. The community college performance is reflected in the brighter blue line that you will see, or maybe teal turquoise-ish. And the TCAT performance is reflected in the navy blue line. So on the screen now, we're looking at the primary reserve ratio. The primary reserve ratio measures financial strength by providing information on how long an institution can survive on current reserves or savings. So if they didn't have any revenue coming in, how long could they continue to do business, pay their bills? The standard is 0.4, which represents about 5 months of expense, and the watch level is 0.13. Which represents less than 1.5 months of expense. As you can see from this chart, the community college sector exceeds the target level of performance and has done so for several years. The TCAT sector also exceeded the target level and remained consistent from the previous year. Next slide, please. The return on net position ratio provides information on whether the institution is better off at the end of the year compared to the beginning of the year. This ratio is one where the receipt of large, non-recurring state appropriation or gifts for investments in physical plant or buildings can create year-to-year volatility and skew the results, especially for our smaller schools. The industry standard is 3% above inflation as measured by the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, and the watch level is performance consistently below the rate of inflation. So you may recall, and you can see here on the screen, that the CPI was at its highest level of the past 10 years in FY 2022. And in that year, all of our colleges were below the watch level. However, CPI has stabilized in FY '23 and has remained consistent, with the watch level in FY '25 being 2.67% and the expected level being 5.67%. Both of our sectors exceeded the expected performance level this year. I will point out that the TCAT line in this chart, what you're seeing here, we like to call it in our trainings, especially in 25, we call it the off the charts ratio that you're seeing there. That's where you're seeing those smaller schools being impacted by the non-recurring gifts. So as you all know, hello, $1.5 billion that our TCAT's got. In addition to that, there has been additional revenue going into our TCATs for capacity and wait list things. So those spikes you're seeing in 2016, 20, 21, and then over these past 3 years are all caused by that type of non-recurring revenue there. Next slide. So the net operating revenue ratio indicates an operating surplus or deficit and is similar to a profit margin. And it provides whether, we look at this as whether an institution is living within their means or within available resources. So the industry standard is 4%, which represents the amount needed to keep pace with growth in expenses and inflation, as well as maintain adequate reserves. And the watch level is performance that's consistently below 0. And here I talk a little bit about, again, I say this every year, but a deficit in a single year or a drop in a single year is not necessarily a problem. We're always wanting to look at trends. Again, going back to the last slide where we saw some spikes in the TCAT ratios, it's similar on this ratio. So this ratio can be impacted by things that our colleges can't control. So again, this can be volatile, required pension and OPEB, retirement benefits, accounting entries, depreciation expense, capital maintenance expenditures from capital appropriations. Those all impact this ratio. So you've always got to look at the entire picture, look at the trend, and kind of use that to gauge this ratio. So as you can see here, both of our sectors perform significantly above the expected level in FY '25. And the viability ratio measures financial health, and I include this in here because it is one of the metrics, the 4 metrics of the CFI calculation. However, as noted on the screen, the viability ratio measures financial health by comparing expendable net assets to long-term debt and provides information on how much debt can be paid with existing resources. I think most of you all know our colleges have little to no debt at all. So this ratio is inconsequential for our colleges, and though I highlight it here because it is one of the 4 metrics. If you look up CFI, we do not use it in our calculation unless we have a school that has debt, and it would be included there. So the last chart we're looking at here is the composite financial index, or the overall CFI score. And to calculate the CFI, as I just described, the 4 ratios that were on the previous slide are combined to provide a single measure of overall health of the institution. And tracking the CFI over time provides information on the progress an institution is making towards their financial goals. A target CFI ideal level is at least 3. At this level, an institution is considered financially healthy. The watch level is a CFI of 1 or less. For FY '25, you can see both of our sectors exceeded the expected target level, which is an indication that both sectors are performing well. And for the last piece of information, I'm going to share the actual performance for FY '25 compared to our estimated budgets that were submitted for our colleges on June 30 of 2025. For the community colleges, you will see the unrestricted education in general actual revenue collection exceeded budget by $13.2 million, or 1.8%. The unrestricted education in general expenditures were about $68 million, or 9.77% less than budget. On the next slide, for our TCATs, you will see the unrestricted education in general actual revenue collection exceeded budget by $2.1 million, or about 1.16%. And the unrestricted education in general actual expenditures were about $20 million, or 11.53% less than budget. This data demonstrates the conservative budget management practices in place by our colleges. Next slide. The adjusted unrestricted net position calculation and the CFI score are the 2 main measures that we use at the System Office to monitor our college's financial health. We include the unrestricted net position calculation, again, as I've said, as a supplement to the CFI because it's generally less volatile and focuses on factors that our institutions can actually control themselves. And so to summarize for FY25, 13 of our 13 community colleges have a CFI above the 3.0 expected level. 12 of our 13 community colleges have an unrestricted net available revenue exceeding the 7-month benchmark, and the one that is below that is at 4.5 months, which is still 2 months above the watch level. As a sector, the community colleges remain relatively flat in all aspects of the CFI calculation, and our system sector average did as well, with 6.85 in FY24 and 6.73 in FY25. The months of unrestricted available for the sector remain flat with an average of 12.5 in 24 and 12.9 in 25. Moving on to the TCATs, 23 of our 23 TCATs have a CFI above the 3.0 expected performance level. 22 of 23 TCATs have an unrestricted net available revenue at or exceeding the 7-month benchmark, and the one that is below is at 5.58 and is still well above the watch level of 2 months. As a sector, the TCAT CFI sector average remained relatively flat at 6.5 in FY24 and 6.22 in FY25, and the months of unrestricted available increased slightly from 10.4 months to 11.2. So in conclusion, while we continue to monitor all of our schools' financial performance on an ongoing basis, FY25 continued a very positive trend for our system as a whole. I want to thank all of our 36 colleges that are here for their efforts and their attention to their overall financial condition, as well as participating in all of the financial trainings that we've been offering for the past 3 years. So unless there are any questions, Madam Chair, that completes my report.
Questions, comments for Vice Chancellor Fox? Regent Branscombe?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Vice Chancellor Fox did a great presentation for us this week to show us all this information ahead of time. And I feel like I really got some good insight as to our financial situation, which is very healthy. So I just want to say thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Regent White, anything from your perspective as chair of the Finance Committee?
No, again, thank you to Vice Chancellor Fox and her team for the work that they do, but also thank you to the colleges and TCAPs for the, the very careful fiscal management they show on each every.
Well, I'm going to lean in just a little bit on the two colleges that she did talk about were just a little bit below that line, just so that everyone does fully understand. Quite often when they have a building project going on their college, they have to utilize dollars in a one-time opportunity to furnish, buy equipment, do some things in that new building, and so that's what is reflected in that. Hence, again, the reason that Vice Chancellor Fox is saying we're not concerned about the ones where you did see a little bit of a dip. We know exactly what's causing the dip. So just put that on the table so everybody's aware.
If I can add to that, the one thing I learned is to watch trends. Not just look for one little place here or there where it looks like something's off, but to watch the trends.
And if I can just say, that was my, watch the trends, that's my key takeaway. And then also, as long as you understand, it's okay if there is a dip, as long as it's planned. Because if you've planned for those things and you know you're going to spend that money, you're going to see it. Your number's going to go down if you're spending some of the money, obviously. But if it's planned for, that's 100% okay. So those are the things that we dig into on our end and ask questions about. And that's what we always teach our colleges. Don't freak out when you get this. Look at all of the pieces and understand what the trends are. And if you plan for it, you're fine.
I think Commissioner Holt has a question too.
Well, probably more comments than anything, really a little bit more brag.
That's good.
So Chancellor Tidings, you were talking about Ray County and the transition from what they were operating with to what they have now. And, one of the luxuries I have with my role as commissioner is, literally driving from one end of the state to the other and saying that it's not just one campus that's been blessed in that way. The governor's infusion, and I know I'm biased and I work for him, and I love him, he's a good friend, but the governor's commitment to community colleges and to our TCATs is unbelievable. And the structures that I see in what most of us would consider to be very rural areas across this state are shocking at the types of investment. And that is not just a representation of a great contract for a local construction company. It's changing people's lives forever. because it's introducing them to an opportunity that otherwise would not be there. And when you couple that with this information right here, it is, I mean, we've created something unique in the state of Tennessee that I don't think we can overemphasize, that not just right now, but into the future, how we're going to change the trajectory of businesses that want to locate to the state, and the educational opportunities that are being provided to students that otherwise would have said, you know, I'm not going to go that direction. I don't need a 4-year degree, but this is a perfect place for them. And the solvency that you all have created is just, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. I'm just so proud to see what's been created here. And again, the trends that say this is going to continue into the future. We need to continue to lean into this. Only question I have is, from an endowment perspective, you know, we talk about universities from a lot of times and the endowment opportunities that are created through alumni associations and things of that nature. Is there a robust, I'm asking this as a novice, is there a pursuit toward an endowment type mentality to maintain funding and to offset campuses? And again, I know from one campus to another, potentially there could be some creation that, you know, some could be more successful than others, but could you give a little background on that?
I think the chancellor wants to take
I'll take that one. And you are absolutely right, and we have been working diligently to work on our foundation assets and what we do have there. Chris Perkins, who's in charge of our foundation, reported to the foundation associates from all the colleges earlier today that we have now reached over the $3 million mark. When he took that job 8 years ago, we had about $300,000, and we are at $3 million now, with money that can be endowed for the colleges to use for these kinds of things that we're talking about. They normally have to dig into their budget for. So yes, we are working diligently to try and make sure that there is some type of planning for the future, and that colleges will have assets that they need. Continue on. Thank you for those wonderful remarks.
If I can just add too, the community colleges also have their own foundations and endowments and do fundraising for the individual community colleges as well, which again, not my area to report on what they each have. Chris does that normally in the meeting, but they do have their own at the local level of the community colleges, foundation, fundraising, endowments, and gifts there as well.
But the need remains great, and the
Yes.
focus needs to stay where it is, so well chosen. Anyone else? Thanks, Dr. Fox, and thanks for getting folks together yesterday for that briefing too. That were Monday, Tuesday? It doesn't matter. Thank you for getting everyone. We all lost track of the dates. Thank you for getting folks together. Well done. We will now move into our action items for the afternoon, and we have 3 policy revisions to hear. I would propose that we take all 3 at once and then act on this in one roll call vote. And Brian, I assume I have your approval to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely, thank you. So if there are no objections, Dr. Fox, you shouldn't have sat down. Come back up here and talk to us about this particular policy revision.
It's me again, and I promise this one's a lot shorter. So thank you, Madam Chair, Chancellor, members of the board. Today I'll be presenting revisions to the TBR Policy 5.01.01.14, Family, Medical, and Service Member Leave. Included in your materials, you should have received a copy showing the track change recommendations, as well as a clean copy for your review. On January 1st, 2026, Public Chapter 423 took effect after adoption and signature by the Governor and the Tennessee Legislature for all state of Tennessee employees. Public Chapter 423 provides 6 weeks of paid leave to an eligible employee caring for a family member with a serious health condition that requires the use of hospice care. Our recommendation is to incorporate paid hospice care leave into TBR's existing Family, Medical, and Service Member Leave policy, and rename said policy to be titled Family, Medical, Service Member, and Hospice Leave. This recommendation was reviewed and recommended by the HR officers as well as the Business Affairs Subcouncil in January, before moving on for recommendation by the presidents in February. If adopted, the policy would go into effect retroactively to January 1st, 2026. Madam Chair, unless there are any questions, that completes my overview.
Any questions for Dr. Fox? Hearing none, you can think on that while we listen to Brian on his 2 policy updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have two policy updates, both of which are rather mundane in the nature of housekeeping. They're both driven by revisions to how the Division of Claims Administration within the Department of Treasury registers volunteers. You may recall from your orientation sessions that volunteers for state service, such as every member of this board except those who are already employed by the state, get the same protections against individual liability as do state employees. So the Department of the Treasury updated the process so we can register you electronically, which I have done, and that drove some other revisions to the two policies. First is the motor vehicle policy. So there are just a few revisions on there that this policy had just gotten a little stale. It reflects that only the chancellor and presidents receive either a vehicle or a vehicle allowance. Senior staff do not. In addition to the risk management processes, it makes disciplinary action for misuse of a vehicle consistent with other disciplinary processes. No reason to be special when you're misusing a state vehicle. There's no longer a need to mark state vehicles in accordance with the markings required for the 4 executive agencies. The rules that apply to the other executive agencies don't apply to us, so colleges can mark their cars consistent with their marketing and marking and policies. And then finally, it specifically creates a provision of the ability for colleges to have policies that are not inconsistent with this policy, such as either requiring the use of a pool car or giving the option of a pool car in how they choose to go forward. Next one, please. And the next policy revisions relate to emergency management planning. We took a look at these guidelines and what we realized, or this policy, and what we realized when we looked at guideline B100 is that guideline B100 has really become superfluous. It put into a guideline essentially what is required by the FEMA emergency management planning and guidelines. So rather than having a guideline that attempts to stay current with FEMA, we just refer to FEMA, saying stay current with FEMA, which our colleges do already, I think, have an annual policy review of these types of things, but it's a reminder that this has got to be a review and update of the annual policy. So essentially this one just says, do your emergency management planning per FEMA guidelines, not B100, because it is superfluous. And the presidents, subject to passage of this policy, have revoked the superfluous guideline. So, unless there are questions, that's my presentation.
Move to approve. Okay. Do we have a second? Thank you very much, Regent Powers and Regent DeWitt. Any further discussion? I know these are all about as exciting as watching paint dry, but it is important to make sure we have updated policies and just good hygiene, right, Miles, in general. So, one of our favorite expressions. With that, if there's no further discussion, no. Roll call vote. There she is.
Right here. Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent Branscombe.
Aye.
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Davis.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt.
Aye.
Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Harrell.
Aye.
Regent Harriman.
Aye.
Commissioner Holt.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent Powers.
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Richardson.
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon.
Aye.
And Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Jonathan E. Reed, we haven't heard from you today. How are you?
Good to see you all. Looking forward to our festivities. So good to see you, Madam Chair, Chancellor Titans, and members of the board. It is my pleasure to present to you our 2 faculty emeriti for your approval. Just as background, particularly for new board members, college presidents nominate these individuals based on distinguished college service. They may confer with other members of their team, but this truly is at the discretion of the president. And although there's not defined criteria, you will often see faculty recommended for this based on their significant contribution, outstanding academic achievement, and exceptional embodiment of institutional values. There are non-monetary benefits associated with this, so presidents have a range of options from library privileges to office space or free admissions to arts or athletic events or an ID card with that honorary title. The nominations are reviewed by me, but they must be approved by the chancellor and this board due to the prestige of this title. Let me quickly introduce our two fantastic candidates for you. Michael Brooks is an associate professor of criminal justice at Dyersburg State. And then we also have Lisa Hately, the associate professor of business at Southwest Tennessee Community College. Those are our candidates, members, and so I will take it to you for action.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Dr. Reed on our faculty emeriti? Hearing none, we will need a motion to approve, please. Thank you, Regent. Can't talk this afternoon, Richardson. No, exactly. That's about where I was headed. How'd you know? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Regent Burdine, thank you very much. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's take the vote.
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent Branscombe.
Aye.
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Davis.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt.
Aye.
Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Harold.
Aye.
Regent Harriman.
Aye.
Commissioner Holt.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent Powers.
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Richardson.
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reed. See you shortly. We have one final action item this afternoon pending our closing announcements and comments, and that's to act on a building request from the TCAT Dixon and Nashville State. Come on up here, you two.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And
Oh,
I'll
I'm calling
start
you
this
first. I am so
first.
sorry. Thank you.
Today, I am presenting the joint naming recommendation from Nashville State Community College and TCAT Dixon for the new Dixon Center of Higher Education building. A campus committee, including representatives from Nashville State, TCAT Dixon students, and the Nashville State Foundation, reviewed this naming request and unanimously recommend honoring Dr. James T. Jackson, MD. No relation to Dr. Shauna Jackson. Dr. Jackson's impact on education and community advancement in the Dixon region is remarkable. He founded the Good Lark Education Foundation, which provided classroom technology, essential resources, and direct support to more than 1,000 students. His family continued this commitment through the Jackson Family Foundation, deepening support for local education and workforce opportunities. In 2022, the Jackson Family Foundation pledged $10 million to support the new Dixon Center of Higher Education. This facility will serve as a permanent Nashville State location and will house TCAT Dixon's nursing and allied health programs. Dr. Jackson's lifelong dedication to service, education, and community has touched thousands of lives. Naming the facility the Dr. James T. Jackson, MD building would honor his legacy and the profound impact he has had on higher education and workforce opportunity in this region. And now it is my pleasure to bring the recommendation to the board and call on President Jackson and Travis for their comments.
Thank you, Chancellor and Vice Chair Reynolds, for the opportunity to share with the board why President Travis and I are making this recommendation. The Jackson Family Foundation has been such a strong supporter of higher education in Dixon and the community for several decades. Nashville State was co-located with the foundation's office at the Renaissance Center, which the foundation originally built and then transferred ownership to another entity from 2008 to 2022. The building was sold, leaving Nashville State without a home. And the following year, the Jackson Family Foundation, as the Chancellor mentioned, gave a historic gift of $10 million to the Nashville State Foundation in order for us to have a home. And eventually, we were able to put that with the governor's money and our family, TCAT Dixon, for the new center that you see on the screen. Nashville State is actually moving this week into the Dixon Center, and we will open for business on Monday. And again, it will be our permanent home in Dixon and an extension campus for TCAT.
Growing up in Dixon County, I've seen firsthand the impact that Dr. James T. Jackson, affectionately known as Dr. Jimmy in our area, has had on the community that he served so well. He devoted his life to lifting others up, first as a physician and then a visionary leader. His belief that education fuels opportunity led him to create the Good Lark Education Foundation, providing vital support to technology in the local schools. He later helped establish the Jackson Family Foundation, reinforcing his conviction that strong educational pathways are the heart of a thriving community. We are proud to honor the Jackson Family Foundation's ongoing commitment to education by naming the first building of the Dixon Center of Higher Education for their founder, Dr. James T. Jackson. Thank you all for the consideration.
Right. Thank you all. Well done. I know you were happy to have a permanent home. Yes. And Laura, a new home, so to speak. We just broke ground on this, it feels like day before yesterday, right? This is remarkable.
We thought it was going to surpass the Clarksville campus, but we've moved into the new Clarksville campus, but they've moved very fast. It was Core Construction. They've done a wonderful job. In fact, their general manager is a local Dixon County person.
Excellent. So one more great success story. So to the point Commissioner Holt was making earlier, this is terrific.
Is Dr. Jimmy still with us?
He is not.
Okay.
So what a remarkable life. So we have this proposal to name this fabulous new facility after Dr. Jackson. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Thank you, Miles. And a second? A second. There we go. We've got several seconds lined up there. Mariah, did you catch that? So very good. Any further discussion?
I just want to, one quick question. So then more of a technical question. Do we have funding to appropriately label the building this way, or do we have to change anything that's already on the building? I think this is fabulous.
So the building will still be called the Dixon Center of Higher Education, the campus, I should say. The awning that you can see as you walk into the door will bear his name. So the building will still have the name of the Dixon Center of Higher Education, because this is just building one. We already have plans for building.
Good question. That's good.
Sure, I just think this is, to honor somebody like this, you want to make sure it can be seen, and people understand it, and I think it's entirely appropriate.
It will be on the front and the back, his name.
No, good question. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mariah, would you call the roll for us?
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent Branscombe.
Aye.
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Davis.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt. Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Harrell.
Aye.
Regent Harriman.
Aye.
Commissioner Holt.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent Powers.
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Richardson.
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon.
Aye.
And Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all. Thank you, ladies. Good to see you. Chancellor, let's get ready to close this out. I know you have some announcements around our evening and tomorrow.
Absolutely. I think you all have your schedules in your packet. Remember that the reception is this evening. I believe you can begin checking in at the hotel at 4 o'clock, so probably by the time we get there, our room should be ready. In the morning, chicken and biscuits at the state capitol. The shuttle will be running over. The legislators like chicken and biscuits, so we usually have a very good turnout. To all of you that can get up and get over there in the morning, we do appreciate it. The student honors lunch tomorrow at 11:30. And then we have, there's some things going on for the presidents after that, but then the dinner tomorrow night from 6:30 to 8:30, where we will honor all of our students, all the students that participated, find out who our winners are, find out who our staff winners are, but we will also find out the coveted college, community college, and TCAT of the year. So please be there tomorrow. We look forward to seeing each and every one of you. If you have any questions, any concerns, call Mariah.
And don't forget your badges, because we need these for tonight and tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kate. Drink tickets in the back pocket. A couple of more just quick things, and thank you, Chancellor. We're all excited about this.
Our next quarterly meeting will actually be at Nashville State on June 11 and 12. I'm sure you have those dates on your calendar, but just a reminder with more information to come. On one sad note, I wanted to make you aware that our colleague Barry Stevenson is not here today. His brother has had a very sudden decline in health. So Barry is with his brother and his family right now. So please keep them in your thoughts. That precludes him, unfortunately, from joining us for this meeting, but he was in touch with Mariah earlier today. So just wanted you to know why Barry is not here. And we'll keep them in our hearts. As always, to our team, thank you. It isn't just about this meeting. There's a whole lot of work that goes into all of this, and simply put, we cannot do it without them, so thanks to you all. With that, does anyone have anything else for the good of the cause? Any further announcements? If not, let's get downtown. See you in a few minutes, and for this quarterly meeting, we stand adjourned. Thank you all.